What's up, fam? Extraordinary Life with Elijah. Random thoughts while out here working on my property that are so challenging, but so incredibly hopeful. I'm sure that you're aware very few people are not, unless you're not connected to social media at all. Lots and lots of conversations of people in specific camps with specific ideas. Lots of context where that can drop and apply. But I think specifically, as I was talking through all this stuff with Jesus, especially within the realm of politics, all of the debates and commentaries are starting. I was listening to the radio here the other morning as I was heading to work, and one of the commentators kept referring to the parties back and forth as being the opposition. So he'd be talking to one party member and say, well, what about the opposition? And then say, how are you doing in battling the other side? Now, there's just this language that pervades all of our discussion around politics that is very adversarial. It's us versus them, and if they get in, then we are screwed, and that's why we have to be more violent and attack the other side and prosecute them. I heard one commentator say, yeah, the vice president nominee did a great job of prosecuting the other side. Prosecuting? I thought we were the United States. Charla, my wife, and I are very definitely different people, but that makes us stronger. Like, we are incredibly different people, and we often disagree, sometimes strongly. But my wife is not the opposition, and I'm not battling her. And if she has input into our children, she is not ruining our family. And if I am not in control, it's not like my family's going to hell in a handbasket. We're united. We're very different people. We don't always agree, but we are leading a united front to better our family. Out of this, I was just thinking and praying through it. It just bothers me to no end that language is in place. And I began to talk with Jesus about how he moved his kingdom forward. If I had been Jesus and I was picking disciples, I don't think I would have picked the disciples that he did. I know I wouldn't have. I would have went out and I would have gathered people that agree with me and were sexy and attractive and could speak well and weren't embarrassing, and I would have surrounded myself with them. And that's how I would have moved my movement forward, which is why I'm glad that I wasn't Jesus on earth picking my disciples. I think back further still to an original 12 that started the entire family of God with the family of Jacob. And when Jacob married Rachel and Leah, he's tricked and he married Leah first and then married Rachel. It's so ridiculously broken in how their family came about that Leah got super jealous and had a maidservant and was having her sleep with Jacob, and then Rachel got in on the action and got her own maidservant and had Jacob sleeping with her. And so the original line of the house of Israel, with all its 12 tribes, some of it came from Jacob and covenant relationship, and some came from mistresses, and there was all this tension, and that was the origin of Israel. That is just all sorts of messed up. I wouldn't have picked that as my starting family if I was God, but it's what he did. And then further on, that Jesus picked disciples, 12 of them, interesting, but that Jesus picked 12 disciples who were the most messy group of people that you could possibly think of. That you had fishermen who flunked out of rabbi school, that they didn't have what it took to become Talmudim, and so they went to learn the trade of their father, which means that they were not the best students. They weren't even the best fishermen either. It only says in scripture that they were catching fish when Jesus was supernaturally empowering them. So I think they were even really bad fishermen. On top of that, Jesus invites zealots into his inner circle of 12, along with sellouts. That Matthew was a tax collector for the Romans when Jesus came and invited Matthew to join his band. Further still, at the Fab Three of Peter, James, and John. James and John were brothers, and so Jesus was always inviting them into his most intimate times. He invited them up on the mountain to pray, invited them further into Gethsemane to pray with them. That John was the one that Jesus loved. Is Jesus showing favoritism to the sons of Zebedee? Is there some nepotism going on here? And then Jesus's appointment of people was just idiotic, that he took the one who had trouble with money, Judas, and put him in charge of the money bag, even though Matthew was a tax collector and had tons of experience with money. Not only so, but God chose Peter, the one that had the most troubles with humility and was just arrogant and reckless, that Jesus picked him to be the one who would be the apostle who would move the church forward as its primary leader. Then on down the line, that he anoints Paul to be the apostle to the Gentiles, but he had the most experience in Judaism and persecuted the church and murdered believers. When I look at all of that in my mind, it makes absolutely no sense. According to the mindset of politics and religion that rules out of power, that is just the most stupid, idiotic way forward imaginable. However, within Jesus's ways is the most brilliant way forward possible. I think the thing that it encourages me in the most is that it shows the power of God's Spirit to bring unity, not agreement or a uniform application of truth within a specific party. And if you're not a part of us, if you're not with us, then you're against us and you're out. Jesus invites into his band the people that he established his movement of the kingdom on, that he bet heaven on 12 guys who became 11. Judas killed himself. I mean, one of his following was suicidal and killed himself. That's kind of a little bit of a smudge on your movement. But that Jesus confidently placed the forward advance of the kingdom on the shoulders of 11 men who were so messy, just uneducated, unqualified, untalented fishermen at best, and said, yep, you're gonna move the kingdom forward. How this encourages me is that I'm freed from the thought of wondering whether or not I have to have the perfect people a part of my movement. That if I don't have the people who agree with me and agree with one another, who don't create messes, are not embarrassing, that are super attractive, if I think I have to have the perfect team around me to be able to advance God's plans in the earth, that's all sorts of kind of pressure, and then it becomes very exclusive. It becomes very suspicious that if you're not getting it, if you don't get it, you're out. But Jesus and his ways, establishing the foundations of the family of God in the Israelites in just this dysfunctional, abusive mess. Oh, so messy. And then likewise inviting 12 disciples into the process that would have not have gotten along with one another and were, quite frankly, an embarrassment in the community. That Jesus choosing them points to the fact that it's not about politics. It's not about religion. And it's not about the agreement and the uniformity of man in moving things forward. It's about God's Spirit who brings unity. In this season of politicking and voting and all of the discussions that are continuing to abound in our society over very deep, very real, very personal issues with very real effects and consequences, my invitation to you would be to invite the mindset of Christ, the mindset of heaven, to come by God's Spirit so that you would be able to discern the way forward, to be able to discern what God is doing and join him in it, and not miss it as a result of looking to the ways of the world and agreement and people who get it and who are not messy and aren't embarrassing. Looking forward. This is my thought. The most effective president moving forward, the most effective expression of ruling would be a leader who surrounds himself intentionally with people that are known to disagree with him, and that the people in his cabinet are known to be from specific parties that disagree with one another. And that as that leader moved forward with those people, they would have the most perfect context to reveal the culture of heaven that invites unity and peace within the midst of unreconciled relationships. If you subscribe to what I'm doing, hit the button, hit it, and then get it. Hit the bell as well so you get notified with the new content. And if you love this video, you didn't just like it, hit the thumbs down button. Pray blessings on you guys' day. I love you guys lots, and I will see you in the next video.